Sorry for the somewhat morbid title. But I think it's important for all of us before our day comes, before we pass, to understand some of the information that I'm going to share with you in today's video. And it's about the mistakes that we can make that, unfortunately, after we pass, become extremely difficult, if not impossible, to undo. So let's jump in. I want to start with the story that almost every financial advisor has a story like this where, somebody came to them that was not using a financial advisor, that was not using an estate planning attorney. Maybe somebody's husband passes away and they come in and say, hey, these assets aren't transferring to me in the way that I thought they would. Maybe the spouse is getting cut out. And they didn't realize that was going to happen, or worse, maybe an ex-spouse is getting some of the assets. So I need to start off this video saying I'm not an attorney. My goal in this video is to just put things on your radar screen to encourage you to look into it, to reach out to an attorney, to find out for your specific situation, to make sure that you don't make these mistakes. And I want to start off with a surprise for many people, and that is your 401k and your IRA passed by contract, not by your will. And so what do I mean by this? There's a beneficiary form that you sign when you start work, or when you open an IRA, that you say, these are the people I would like these assets to go to if I were to pass away, when I pass away. And that is legal and binding. And sometimes people forget, maybe they've been working someplace for 10 years or 15 years, and there's been a lot of changes in their life. And now all of a sudden they forgot. And maybe they have an ex-spouse listed there, or maybe they weren't married, so they had a brother or a sister listed there. And unfortunately, even if you get a will, and you say in the will, I want my 401k to pass to so-and-so, I want my IRA to pass to so-and-so. Now, again, I'm not an attorney, but the basics of the law are those accounts are going to pass by contract, they're going to pass by the beneficiary. So that's just one example. Another example that I want to share with you is just the importance of visiting with an estate planning attorney. I'm not an attorney, I'm not biased in this financially, but I am biased from an experience standpoint, because it's super important that you have your estate set up properly. And it's not just the financial side of things. Two of the most important documents is what happens when you get sick. Who's going to make those decisions for you if you cannot make those decisions for yourself? So that's called the healthcare power of attorney. And you want to have that put in place, obviously, before you get sick. And if you are sick and you're still mentally, you're fine, you can still get this, but it's, you're under a lot of stress. Maybe if somebody got a cancer diagnosis and they're fighting for their life, boy, the time to make decisions like this is when the background is calm, when you're thinking clearly. So the first one I want to mention is a healthcare power of attorney. And the second one is a financial power of attorney. Now, you want to be careful with the financial power of attorney because you're giving a lot of power to somebody. And in some states, as soon as you sign that document, that person has that power. And in many, you can get what's called a springing power of attorney, which means it springs into effect if something were to happen to you from a mental capacity standpoint, and you could no longer make those decisions yourself. Now, it's also worthwhile for many people to think about having a revocable living trust. Now, the word revocable means you can change it down the road, but it gives some added protections, because sometimes people will sign over their healthcare power of attorney, their financial power of attorney to somebody else. And once that's done, it's very difficult to undo, and some very bad things can happen. Unfortunately, financial advisors also have stories about people that have come in that were not using an advisor, that maybe downloaded forms off the internet and some bad things happen to them, and I don't want to see that happen to you. So with a revocable living trust, in order to change that, you likely need to go see an attorney, and the attorney can go over that documents and say, does it make sense to take the spouse, I'm just using an example, off of this power of attorney and putting another family member, maybe a child, as a power of attorney. And we all like to think, we love our kids, we trust them implicitly, and that's a great thing. But unfortunately, estate planning attorneys, accountants, financial advisors, we've all seen where good people do bad things when money's involved. So I think the revocable living trust can be a powerful tool because it cleans up things. It allows you to properly title things and to make clear what your wishes are. And then you can always change it. That's what the word revocable means. There's also irrevocable trust where you cannot change it later. But with a revocable living trust, you can change it, but you're going to have to sit down with your attorney and say, hey, we want to change this, we want to change that. And the attorney's going to ask you why. And the attorney might have some questions for you that would be good, that would give you pause and say, I think I should think about this. Maybe I should take another, a few more days and think about it, or seek additional counsel on why I'm being asked to do what I'm being asked to do. And the challenge is, when a spouse is getting ready to die, it's a hugely stressful time for everybody in the family. And maybe one of the spouses is taking care of the other spouse. And they're stressed out. And they're not thinking rationally. And again, with big decisions like this, it's super important that you're thinking rationally. Again, I'm not an attorney. These are things that I want to put on your table. Another thing that financial advisors have seen sometimes is, hey, let's sell our stock before this person dies just to clean things up, just to make it easy. And you want to talk to a tax professional on this, but for most families, they don't want to sell the stock while that person's still alive. They don't want to liquidate the investment account and sell the position so that they have cash. It sounds good to have cash after somebody passes away. It's easier to distribute. But the reality of the way the tax code is written is that could be a really, really expensive mistake, because most of us are going to get what's called a step up in basis on stocks that we owned. And let me quickly explain what that is. Let's say you bought a stock at $10 and now it's grown to $110 over 30 years. If this happens if I'm just using me as an example, if I sell that stock while I'm still alive, I owe capital gains tax on it. But if I pass away and my kids inherit it, they get a step up in basis. So if on the day that I die, that stock's at $110, it's going to look and feel to my kids like they paid $110. They can turn around and sell it, and guess what? In that situation, there's no capital gains tax. So these are just a couple of examples of why I do think it makes sense to consult with a professional, to consult with an accountant on your taxes, to consult with an estate planner on, here's how we're thinking about our estate plan. It doesn't have to be expensive. And I urge you to do it because it can pay off in many, many dividends. The other thing that pays off in dividends is deciding when you retire. And that's why I made this video up here. Why waiting to 65 to retire might be a big mistake. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.